I'll start the recording for this session so we can provide you in our Telegram channel as well as on the YouTube. Okay, so this is our third session, right? The first two sessions we had the introduction and very basic understanding of a few of the core concepts like how to print up a statement, right? So we'll have a quick recap. So the first thing, agenda for today, we'll have a quick recap of what we have studied. Next, we'll see the Boolean type and the relational operator. We will see the logical operators, conditional construct, if, else, and switch statements. And along with that, we will also have some introduction to the loops if we get the time, right? Good enough time. So, right. So let's start with. Please mute your microphones. Right. If anyone is joining up, please mute your microphones. Right. Thank you. So we are getting good number of students now joining up for this batch. Great. Looks good to me. Okay. So this was agenda. This is the agenda, not was. This is the agenda of today's session. Right. So quick recap. Now, what all we have studied in the last class, we'll have a quick recap because due to the time constraint, a lot of things are there to be discussed. Right. There are a lot of things to be discussed. So we started with the writing of the program, right? So it had a main method. So what is our main method over here? Main methods should be public, static, void, main, and string arguments, right? So one of you guys have sent up a message in the chat that his program was not working and it was getting some error. So I think he gave the first problem was like he wrote the string in the lower case, right? So you have to ensure that where you have to write the uppercase and the lowercase. So to have the like quick understanding, all the class name should be in Pascal case, right? Pascal case. So when I say Pascal case, means every every first character of your word should have the uppercase, right? For example, suppose you have a class named as action listener, so you are going to write it in this form. Okay, so don't write your class names like this. This is wrong practice, right? This is not the standard approach. So class name should be in the Pascal case. So I have given you an example. So this is your example, action listener, correct one, right? Correct form. And this one is the wrong. Okay, so correct is the action listener, how I have written over here, and second one is the wrong one, right? So main method, we have written it as public static void main string arguments. So this is the wrong version, right? You have to write it in this format. And remember, main should be in the lowercase because Java doesn't recognizes the main with the uppercase form, right? Uppercase form. So this will be also a wrong method. It won't give you an error for the wrong method, but it will say main not found, right? In this case, main will not be found. So it will give you an error. So here the main should be in lowercase, right? So everyone, like whatever you practice, wherever you get an error you don't understand, try to share your snapshot in the channel, right? Telegram channel. If you guys say, we will make up a WhatsApp channel also. But I think Telegram is very good. It gives us the option to add so many number of users, right? And we can share up the files, etc. Everything. Though we can do all those things on WhatsApp also, but WhatsApp is, I think, not very secure because all its group links, etc., can be shared and anyone can see the phone numbers, etc. So I just wanted to keep it secure so no one should get any kind of spam, etc. Right? That's why I selected a Telegram. So apart from that, we also saw Java compiler and Java. So what is this Java C? Java C is your Java compiler. Let's take it this stuff on the next screen. So I'll copy this stuff to a new screen over here. Right. So Java C stands for Java compiler. Whenever I have to compile my file, right? To compile, you have to give the file name, right? Java C file name dot Java. So here you should not have any confusion. Whenever I have to write up any of the compilation, right? Whenever I have to compile any of the file, I'll compile it using Java C file name dot Java, right? And when I have to run my program, so that is Java class name, right? There is a big difference between file name and the class name. There can be a chance where your file name and the class name can be different, right? We'll see it today. We'll start it from this topic. Where does your class name and the file name is different, and when your class name and the file name will be same, right? Then the last, not last, but bytecode here. So now bytecode is your machine code for JVM, right? It's not a machine code for your operating system. So machine code for the JVM, right? And then output display. So if I have to give the output display, I'll give it using system.out dot print line, right? So you have the print line in for various type of values. So you can print line a value like numeric, you can print line a value like string, right? So this is string can be like this is a string, you can give this value. If you want, you can print up a decimal value also. So let's go over here, 5.5. Fine. Now I got a question from one of the student that is it necessary to print a letter F after 5.5? So the answer is no. This letter F or the typecasting has to be done only when you are storing it in some variable. When you are trying to display it, doesn't matter because you don't have to specify that what type of value it is, right? So 5.5 F. Yes, you can typecast this value, but that case we will see later when you have to typecast a value while displaying, right? So arithmetic operator, very simple. We have some mathematical like arithmetic operators where I can add two values, right? Subtract two values or more than two values, series of values, then multiply it, divide it, and we have a mod operator to find the remainder. Okay. So this was all we have done in the last classes, two classes. And let's start with Boolean and the relational operator. But as I said, there is one topic that we can quickly have uh, discussion on it, like where can we find the file name and the class name as a different one, right? So let's create up a new folder for today. Add new folder, 2020 hyphen 10 hyphen today is I think 10. Yes. Okay. So one more thing, if you guys want these programs, I'll share up the links with you of GitHub repository. In case if anyone is not very much aware of GitHub, not an issue, right? I think students, they are still looking for the class to be started. Let me tell them that it is already started. Fine. So in this folder, I'm going to create a new file, right? And I'll talk about a class demo, right? Every of the program file will be named as the as some specific name where it will tell what we are going to do in this program, right? So I'm writing up a class demo.java. Now, what if I write a class over here as my class, right? And I write it as public static void main string arguments, public static void main string arguments, right? And we'll give a message system dot out dot print line. Now, if you look at this code, you will find that both your file name and the class name are different, isn't it? Your file name and the class name are different. Please keep this class interactive. Drop a yes or no in the chat, right? So we can get to know more how interactive you guys are. You guys are getting like understanding of the concept that I'm discussing, right? So please drop a Y or N inside the chat. So yes, not required to type up the complete yes or no. You can just type Y or N. That would be good. Yes, that saves time of yours. So class, my class, and I have defined up a main method over here. So if you see the file name, right? If you see the file name is class demo and class name is my class. So what is going to happen in my directory? So let's go to the directory and see once. So we'll go to our trainings folder. Inside this, we have our Java folder, then batch 10, right? So this is my directory for today. Okay, let's open up our command prompt. So cd trainings, Java, batch 10, right, and folder for today. Let's compile it. Java C. I'll zoom it a little bit. Right. So Java C, and I want to compile my file class demo. See, the compilation will be with the file name class demo.java. As soon as I have compiled, it's creating up a new class file with the name my class, right? So whenever you are compiling up your program, the classes will be created with the class name, right? The classes file will be created with the class name, and among these class files you have to run the class which is containing the main method. So here it will be my class, right? So we get the output hello world. So this means that I can write the programs with a different class name. I can write the program with different class name, right? But there is a constraint over here, and which is very important. If you are writing up a public class, right, there would be the need, there will be the need when I have to write the public classes also. So I will write it as public class my class. Now, when I write a public class, my class, now you will get the problem that you have to save this class in the file named as myclass.java. See, it says since my class is public, should be declared in a file named as myclass.java. So here comes your first rule, right? Here comes your first rule, and these rules are very important. If any one of you is opting for my this Oracle Java certification, right? So there you can go give the paper and attain up a international vendor certification. So there, this case is going to, in this case, it is going to fetch you the Anshul. Do you have any doubts? So in this case, we can go for certification, right? And certification will always contain up questions based on the rules, scenarios, right? And it is quite tough paper. So right, so here we are going to write up a rule, whatever it is. So public class need to be saved in the same file name. So if it is my class, I have to save it inside the my class.java, right? So I'll just rename this class and see whether it works or not. So let's rename it over here. My class.java, right? Remember, you guys, if are on Windows platform, Windows is non-case sensitive, case sensitive, non-case sensitive. So if you are writing up a my class at in lower case, right, and then you save this, and after that you compile up your program and you just try to change this thing, rename it again, and you try to save it like my class. Remember, you won't find the difference. So it would be good if you save as your program, right? Save as your program. So you resave your program using this save as option. Okay. So now my file name and the class name are same. It is a public class. My file name and the class name are same. So let's go and compile this program now. I have changed my class.java. Compilation is good. Java my class.java, right? Try to keep this as a habit. If you are writing up one class per notepad file, right? One class per notepad file, that will be our standard practice. If I'm writing up the program while using up the IDs and other things, we will be writing up one class per notepad. So there we will follow this practice of writing the class name and the file name same, right? We'll write the same class name and the file name to to like keep any of the confusions away. Okay, so we'll keep the file name and the class name as same. Is this good? Clear to everyone? So that's the first rule we are learning up, that our class name and the file name should be same, right? Any doubts? Good, good. All right, so that was the first point. Second, now we have to look for the relational operators, a very important thing in any of the programming languages, right? So here I'm going to write a class with the name relational operator demo.java. So what is the class name going to be? I'll write the class name as like public class relational operator demo. Now see the way I'm writing up the class name, right? Every word, the first letter of every word is in uppercase. Relational operator demo, ROD, they are in uppercase, right? This is not a rule, but this is a standard practice, right? You will not get any error, but think of like a big number of developers working in a company, and you write up your code, and your code is very different from other people, right? And whenever it comes like development, you have to work in a team. You cannot be into the isolation, right? You have to work in a team. And because it's not only you who is going to write all of the code of for a particular application, so you will have to work in a team. You have to follow the standard approach, else everyone is going to ping you up and going to tell, okay, this is something you should write in a standard approach, right? So far better try to follow it from the day first in your practice, right? Don't think that okay, I'm just into the school or a college or a university who is going to take care of these all stuff, right? This will become habit. The way you write up your code today will become your habit. That's why if you see, always I'm going to add my parenthesis in this place, right? I don't write it like this. This is very common approach I have seen. Everyone writes up the parenthesis in the next line, which is wrong approach. You should always write it in this place, leaving a blank space after the class declaration. Start your parenthesis. Whenever you will see the code in any book, any exam, right, you will always see that the standard code has the parentheses starting in the same line after the declaration. Okay, good. So let's write up our public class, public static void main string arguments. Fine. Now, relational operator. What are relational operator? I have written the class name. Let's try to look at the relational operators. Relational operators and Boolean are very much related, right? Why they are related? If I look at the relational operators, relational operator are greater than, lesser than equal to, greater than equal to, right? And less than, equals to, right? So here, sometimes we also call it like comparison operators, right? Relational operator, comparison operator. So remember, this is a double equals to. Fine, double equals to. If I say 7 is greater than 8, so what will be the output of this, right? 7 is greater than 8. The output of this operator will be a Boolean value, right? A Boolean value. So Boolean value in Java is true or false, right? They are the Boolean literals itself. They are the Boolean literals. They do not give you a 1 or 0. They do not give you true or double quotes false, right? So they both are wrong. They both are not Boolean inside the Java. In Java, the Boolean are only true and only false, right? So if I'm taking up a value like Boolean literals, 7 is greater than 8. 7 is greater than 8. So this is going to return me a value of false, right? This will return me a value false. If I want to save this value, maybe I have to take a variable of the type Boolean, right? So Boolean check is equal to 7 is greater than 8. I can write a complete statement like this. Boolean check is equal to 7 is greater than 8. So here 7 is greater than 8. Value will be checked, right? And whatever is the output, it will be saved inside the check, right? Now don't get confused that 7 is a number, 8 is a number, and then it is going to give me integer or so, because of this operator behavior, it's going to return you a Boolean value, right? So we have uh, less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, and equals to equals to. So here if I write Boolean check is equal to 7 equals to 7, right? So this is returning me a true. Okay, so this is going to compare the equality, if they both are equal values or not. Fine. In case if you are going to write 7 equals to 7, this is wrong. This is not comparison, right? This is not comparison. Fine, this is not a comparison. This equals to operator, remember, equals to, equal to is a assignment operator, right? It is a assignment operator. So this is going to assign the value. Yes, Alok. Yes. So it is an assignment operator. This is going to assign the value. So whenever I am going to use equals to means it will assign the value from right to left. So the value should be on the right side and the variable should be on the left side, right? Don't take it as mathematics that, okay, if x is equal to 7 or 7 is equal to x, the teacher is going to understand either ways, right? This is correct version, this is wrong in your computers. Okay, so 7 is equal to x is wrong, this is the correct one. And if you want to read it correctly in the standard approach, you should say 7 assigned to the variable x, value of 7 assigned to variable x. Don't call it x is equal to 7, right? In my standard classes I would be calling it as x is equal to 7 just to save my time, but the standard approach to call this is value of 7 assigned to the variable x. Okay, so now coming back to the Boolean and the relational operators. So whenever I am going to use my relational operators, it will be giving me a true or false. Now, why do I need Boolean operators? See, whenever you are writing up the programming statements, right, you would have to put some checks, right? You would have to put some checks. Those checks are achievable only by the relational operator. For example, suppose you are going to make a robot someday, right? And this robot is walking on a road. So this is a road, and here I have a obstacle, right? Here I have a obstacle. So this is going forward. So you have to program this robot in such a way that you are going to check, right? Check, is there a obstacle, right? If there are obstacle. So now if there are like hundreds of values of obstacle, right? If there are hundreds of values of obstacle, if you are not asking is there an obstacle, if you are just comparing what is there, right? So he may tell there is a stone, there is like a pit, there is something else, there is a box, right? A lot of things can be there. So you may have to identify all these things, or you can just think of anything is at the front, that's an obstacle right now. Just basic idea, top level idea. So check, is there an obstacle? So answer would be either true or false. See how limited you are going to think of, right? So here, is there an obstacle? So you have to make a comparison. Is the product or object found in the place is equal to obstacle, right? So that is a true or a false. If you are going to check the, if let's say you have like thousands of people for a job, right, and you have to check whether they are eligible for the job, if they are like more than 23 years of age. So I have to check, right, where I will compare it, where age is greater than 23. Okay, so everywhere, when you have to add some filters or you have to add some conditions checks, right, you will use relational operators. So age is equal to 23. If I am going to write up a bank application where I want that this person who wants to withdraw the amount from the ATM machine, right, he can only withdraw it if his account is having minimum of $1,000, right? If his account is having minimum of $1,000, the plus amount he can withdraw. So I'll compare that amount is greater than 1,000, right? The amount is greater than 1,000. So I'll put a series of conditions. The amount is greater than 1,000, right? And balance amount is also greater than 1,000 after like withdrawing up the amount. If yes, then I'm going to allow you to withdraw this amount so you can collect your amount, right? So this way, relational operators are going to be very handy in your programming, right? Relational operator and the true false value. These are very important, right? So for example, I want that your age should be greater than 23. Also, your marks should be greater than or equal to 80. So then I'll say eligible, right? Then I'll say eligible for the job. So now you see you are adding up multiple number of conditions, multiple number of relational operators, right? So I have to check one age. So I'll call this as a conditional expression, right? This is for an understanding. This is not an operator or any keyword, etc. Conditional expression. So this is a conditional expression, right? One conditional expression. Okay, this is one conditional expression. Let's quickly see how does your true and false looks like. If someone is coming from the C or C++ background, it is very important for them, right? So let's go over here into our program and write a quickly new program. Oh, we have relational operator demo. So let's write a system dot out dot print line. If I go and write 3 is greater than 4, will I get a true or false value? What is the output of this, true or false? Quick reply. Okay, John says false. Anyone else? Anshul says false. Good. Okay, everyone would be agreeing that 3 is not greater than 4, right? So everyone will agree that it is false. Remember, in programming, don't jump to the conclusion immediately. Try to read your statement twice. Now, if you look at this statement, can you see there is a double quotes? So it's not going to calculate for the relational operator. It will print it as a simple text, Java C relational operator demo. It will not give you any error. It will not give you the true or false. See what happened over here. It's going to print it as 3 is greater than 4 because it became a string, right? So here it is going to print. I'll put the comments over here for your understanding. Print as string 3 is greater than 4. Yes. Whenever you are writing up your operators, this is not an incompatible type error. This is not an incompatible type error, right? The incompatible type error would be a bit different. We will come to that incompatible type error also. Okay, so let's write up over here print as a string 3 is greater than 4. Let's write it the correct statement, system.out.println. So 3 is greater than 4. Okay, so now if I write this 3 is greater than 4, compile this and let's run this. So now you can see the output, it's false, right? So now you should understand how to write your operators. Operators should never be given inside the double quotes. If you write a big expression, right? This whole thing is called as an expression, right? Operation, expression. So if you're writing up an operation or an expression inside the double quotes, it's of no value. It's only a string, right? Here I like it, write it like multiply by 4 is less than 5, multiply by like 6 plus 7 minus 8. So I write a big expression over here, but this is of no use because it is all in double quotes. It will not calculate anything. It will just print it as a expression, right? So this way, if I'm writing up any of my statements, 3 is greater than 4, right? 4 is greater than 3. So we'll see it either ways. If 3 is greater than 4 and 4 is greater than 3. So what is the output? I hope you guys can see this output here, right? So here is your string. This is your false. This is your true. Okay. So this is the example of a relational operator where you can write up relational operators to calculate two values. Okay, now let's go over here and try to write this. 3 is greater than 4, 4 is greater than 5, and let's try to see what is going to happen. What happened over here? It says bad operand types for the binary operator. So now this operator, this greater than operator will only use up some value and not the Boolean values, right? Now let's try to understand over here what happened in this case. See, when I write 3 is greater than 4, you may have seen that it's writing up some message over here, bad operand, right? Binary operator, bad operand types for binary operator. If I go to the very deep level of understanding, this operator is a binary operator, right? Why binary operator? Because it requires two operands, right? Now, what are the operands? If there is a binary operator, the left operand is greater than right operand. That is what the condition we have given. Left operand means the left side value, right? And the right operand means the right side value, that is 4. Okay. Now we wrote another statement, 3 is greater than 4 is greater than 5. Now if you look for the first operand, right, 3, it is a correct type. 4, it is a correct type. So I can compare uh, for the characters, right, char value, for int values, for float values. So I can compare with my relational operator the values of character, int, and float. Okay. But if I look at this operator, right, this one, the second one, which is inside the box. So now in this case, what is happening? It's not, in this case, it's going to fetch up the uh, Boolean for this. So 3 is greater than 4, false, greater than 5. Yes, Alok, it is. In Java, you will declare the variables. We have not yet seen a lot about the variables, right? We are just taking up the values right now. Soon we will go for the variables also. You have to declare the variables. In the last class also I said that Java is a very strict type checking language, right? So 3 is greater than 4 is greater than 5. So here it is going to come get this value, right? This value becomes false and 5. Now it is comparing up false is greater than 5, which is now something incompatible, right? Therefore, it is giving you an error for this reason. Okay. So whenever you have to compare up the values, compare it in the pairs of like 2 operands only. And further, if I go for adding one more, it will be an error because it will compare false is greater than 5, right? So we go back to our program and let's correct this thing. Okay. So this was our relational operators. Now, relational operator, as I said, will be used in finding up any values is greater than or equal to, right? If you write up an application where for the grocery store, okay, so there you have to take up the value, you create up a bill and then you have to take the payment. So the computer is going to check whether the bill amount is equal to the payment received. If yes, then it is going to allow the delivery of the product, right? Now, sometimes you will have multiple relational or conditional checks, right? So multiple relational operators would have to be used. For example, in 4 is greater than 5 and 4 is greater than 3. So if I have compared both values, okay. So here you will use your logical operators. When I have to combine multiple relational operators, I'll use the logical operators. Logical operators, I have not, and, or, not, and, or, right? So here the not means, okay, let's not start with the not. Let's start with and or. Why I wrote not initially, I'll tell you that also, but let's start with and or. Now, and or means multiple condition together, right? And all should be true. All should be true. So for example, if I write that I have a value like uh, x, right? Suppose x is 10. So I'll say that x is greater than 0, right? I write first condition that x is greater than 0. If I declare a variable x and I say x is greater than 0, right? And so when you have to specify and, it should be in double ampersand, right? When you are going to specify and, it should be in double ampersand. X is greater than 0 and x is uh, divisible by 2, right? And the output is 0. So when I say the remainder of 2 is equal to 0. Now you see I have added up some uh, arithmetic operator, relational operator. But now I'm saying that this number is positive. This number is positive and even. Even numbers are the numbers which are divisible by 2. Their remainder is 0 if they are divided by 2, right? So here I have calculated up that stuff. Now it will calculate whether this number is positive. Yes, true, right? If it is true, and then calculate this as true. So true and true will give you a final output of true. Okay. So now when you have to check multiple conditions, we are going to use and or, right? And or, and means all should be true. While in the case of or, any one should be true. Okay, any one should be true. If I'm writing up int x is equal to 10, x is greater than 0, and x divided by 2, find the remainder which is equal to 0, right? Compare whether it is equal to 0. So now if you see x is greater than 0, this is true. And if you have written a and operator, ampersand, ampersand, then only it is going to compare the second one if first one is true, right? In the case of and, it will go to the second condition only if the first condition is true. In the case of or, if we, let's suppose if this value is minus, right? X is greater than 0, answer is false. This is false, right? So it is not going to go to the next condition. It is not going to go to the next condition to be compared. From here itself, it will return a false value. Okay. So with the relational operator and the logical operator, I can combine multiple conditions. Let's go over here and write up a program. New file, logical operator demo.java. Okay, let's copy this, paste it over here. I can use the same program by removing this logic, relational to logic. Okay, now what are we going to do over here is the first thing, system dot out dot print line. So if I write, let's take a variable. Alok mentioned up some variable. Quickly we'll see variable also. Int x is equal to 10, right? So if I print the value of x, that is going to print the value of only 10. Fine. I say x is greater than 2. The answer would be true. That is your relational operator. Now I want to compare multiple things. I want to see whether this number is a positive even number, right? Positive even number. So for the positive, you have to write the condition x is greater than 0, right? So I can print up a message, put double quotes, positive integer. Now if someone is very good with programming, he knows that we can use ifelse. Yes, we will use it, but let's go step by step, right? Because everyone is not expert over here. We want everyone to understand up the things from the core concept. So system.out.println positive integer, it will print a value x is greater than 0, right? So it will print either either true or either false, right? So let's save this and compile it. Relational operator, Java C. Oops, I should run the logical operator class. Okay, see something. We are getting an error. What is the error? That we are missing our semicolon, right? We are missing a semicolon. So this way, upon compilation, while compiling up your program, Java is going to check the syntax. Java will not check any logical things, right? While execution, Java may check some logical things where you get the error at some specific step, right? So other steps will execute prior to that, right? Not later that, prior to that step will execute. So on compilation, it will check up the syntax part. Okay. We got something to learn over here. So compile this once again. Good. And then run it. So you are getting positive integer, answer is true, right? Positive integer, answer is true. So here I'm getting to know that, okay, positive integer. And let's write up one more statement over here, system dot out dot println even number. So I want to check whether it is a even number, yes or no. Okay. So this will print system dot out dot println x percentage 2, right? So here you are calculating up the remainder. If you want, you can calculate the remainder separately. Remainder is equal to x percentage 2. So I calculate the remainder and then compare that remainder is equal to 0, right? So if it is an even number, its remainder should be 0, right? Let's see what is the output now. Oh, I again missed semicolon. Compare it. Yes. So positive integer, true. Even number, true, right? But you see, they both are coming as a separate statement, right? Now, what if I want to keep them in a same statement? So I can write system dot out dot println positive and even number. Not because of text. This text is only to represent, right? This text is only to represent. So here I say positive and even number. Positive and even number. So here I can write. So here we can write positive and even number. How are we going to mention it? System dot out dot println x is greater than 0 and x is divided by 2 is equal to 0. Right. Okay. So now if you see this condition, x is greater than 0 and x percentage 2 is equal to 0. For better readability, try to write them in the parentheses, right? So Java should also not get confused with the sequence of your steps. Sometimes you may get the weird output because Java may be considering up your uh, parentheses and operators to be executed in a specific sequence, right? We will see that in the form of precedence later. So when you are writing up multiple statements or multiple operations in a single statement, then ensure that you write up it in the parentheses that you want to run this particular as one specific operation, this one as one operation, and then one over whatever output is retrieved, right? That should be compared with logical operators. So here now if I go and run this, see, positive integer, even numbers. Yes, it is true and true. But now I'm combining up both my conditions to calculate whether it is positive and even numbers. So yes, the answer is true. Let's change the value. 11. Okay. So now in this case, positive integer, true, even number, false. What will be the output over here? Let's check that. It should be false. So now see, positive integer, yes, because it is greater than 0, right? Even number, false. Why false? Because it is not a even number. When I divide 11 by 2, it leaves the remainder as 1. So 1 equals to 0. So the answer is false, right? Now here in the third part, you are not separately mentioning up these outputs, right? You are just telling that, okay, x is greater than 0, true, and this one is false, right? So for the ampersand and you have to get all the statements, all the conditional statements as true, right? So we have a truth table. We have a truth table. So let's quickly check that. So when you get a true and true, right, the answer would be true. Okay. When it is true and false, right? So in this case, if the first condition is returning true, then it will come and check the second condition, right? But this will also return a false. Okay. Now if I have a false and false. This will also return a false, right? False and true. This will also return a false. So if your first condition is returning true, second condition is returning true, third condition is returning true, it will return a true value, right? If all the conditions are true, then it will return a true. If your condition is true, later conditions are false, it will return a false, right? If you have a ampersand operator and anywhere you get a false, means it is going to return a false. Okay. Now, similarly here, or if it is a true, or how we mention of the or, that is with the two pipe signs, right? True and true is equal to true, right? True or false equals to sorry, true, right? Because this is or. So remember, true or false. Now if you get a true earlier, it's not going to check the later conditions, because for or, any one of the value and any one of the expression should be true, right? If I write a false or true, since it is or, it gets the first as false, it will come to the next one to check. There is a hope alive that there can be something true. So it goes for the next condition and it finds a true. The last one is if it is a false or false, so this will be false, right? So here you can see in and it is only once true when you have the everything as true. In false, you have only once false when you have everything as false, right? Rest all are true. Good with this? A quick yes or no, guys. Good. Right. Okay, let's quickly check. We completely forgot our slides. Boolean and relational operator, we have already seen. Logical operators, conditional constructs. Very important thing. Now, what are conditional constructs? Why do we need a conditional construct? Right. We know that programming means, if I talk about programming, I know that programming means instructions, right? Instructions for your computer device. So to run some, you run some instructions and you let him do some work. You let it do some work. Now here, if I talk about these instructions, is it like all these? Now suppose these are all instructions, right? Though these are straight lines only. I'm just thinking about, assume. A lot of assumption will be taken, right? Assume these are instructions. Some text written, right? Now, if I look at these, they are all very simple, straight instructions that has to be run, right? They all will be run. All instructions to be run. Okay. Now, for example, you made a robot. Now you have filled up the feature in this robot to open umbrella, right? Jump, okay, and then walk, okay, and then sit. So we have written up so many number of the instructions. We have made up a robot. Suppose we have made up a robot, right? And we have to write up a lot of programming instruction in it. So you open an umbrella. So now let me know, when are we going to open up the umbrella, right? When are you going to ask this robot to open up an umbrella above him? It will be only when raining, right? So is it going to rain 24/7? No. So we have to give him the instruction based on some condition, right? I want that this instruction should run only when it is raining, right? It has to detect whether it is raining. Jump when obstacle, right? Walk, no obstacle, right? Sit when there is a object to be seated, right? So this way, if you see, all these instructions will only run if you have a specific condition, isn't it? If you have a specific condition, now everyone is thinking about like a driverless car. So think about so many number of conditions. It would be, we know that all these are going to be run with the artificial intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence is going to manage up so many number of like learnings from the environment itself, right? So though we are not going to say that artificial intelligence is totally going to like run on the if else statement. It's just a logical understanding. Suppose if there is a driverless car, so it would be running like, okay, if obstacle, stop. If not obstacle, and there is no red light, right? There is no like any signals, etc., to stop, then it will go forward, right? So this way it will be managing up conditionals, just a logical understanding. We are not talking about the AI thing. So just to understand this if else condition, if there is a car which will see a red light, it will stop. If it sees a green light, it will start and go forward, right? So these are the conditions. Now to manage up all these conditions, we are going to have a block called as conditional construct, right? Conditional construct. So under a conditional construct, we have if block, right? Now here the name itself tells if. If means that, okay, this thing happens, then I'll run your code. So under the if, you specify a curly parenthesis, right? With this is optional. Optional if you are only going to give one instruction. But if you have to give multiple instructions for multiple instructions, for multiple instructions, right? So if this parenthesis, so going to write like instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3, instructions 4. So are these instructions going to run every time? No, they are going to run when I have given this condition, the conditions that you have learned into the previous slides. All those conditions will come over here. For example, if let's say x is greater than 10, if x is greater than 10, then run up all these statements. Okay, what is the output of x is greater than 10? If I run only this part, what is the output of this? Give me a quick output. X is greater than 10. I mean, what will be the output? True or false, right? So the output will be true or false. So if x is equal to 20, so yes, the answer would be true, right? So the possible output would be true or false. So now that means if condition, this is called as like if conditional construct. We normally call it as if condition. So if is going to accept a true or a false value here, right? It is only going to accept a true or false value. Got it? True or false value. So you cannot write a true or false value directly, because then there will be no meaning of conditional, right? Condition means based on some value, based on some value. So I'm writing that if int x is equal to minus 23. So will this run? No, because this is going to be false. If this condition calculates to true, if this condition calculates to true, your statements will run. If this condition calculates to false, this condition is not going, this whole block is not going to execute. Okay. Let me know anyone have any question. Very simple thing. If is a conditional block, right? This will run your block of statements only on the basis of a conditional statement. So if x is greater than 10, I want to write some condition, I want to run some statements. If this is true, so I'll put a if around this and will write a parenthesis and write my statements. So if x is greater than 10, if x is greater than 10 and it evaluates to true, your if will work. X is equal to 10. Anything which can calculate Boolean, anything which can calculate Boolean is called as conditional statement, right? And that can be placed inside this block. Let's do it practically. Guys, give me a quick yes or no. That makes it more interactive. Sometimes I feel like my internet is not working or what. Great. That becomes a motivation for your trainer. At least he's speaking up and you guys are responding to him. Thank you. So new file, and we'll take it over here as conditional construct, right? Or let's do it as demo, if demo dot java. Okay. You may be thinking like these class names are very weird. If demo, logical operator demo. This is because when I send you these programs, at least you will be aware that which program contains if else demo, which program contains logical operator demo, right? When we would be writing up some real time cases, you will see that the class names would be very good, like book, student, right? And so on. So here I have a if demo.java class, if demo public static void main string arguments. And yes, everyone, I have seen people like even you, I'm telling this in the recording, people will watch it and they will know. You guys share up your assignments that can I get help on this? Yes, you can get the help on this, but please try to share the skeleton code that you may have created. Just you got an assignment from your college or university and you drop it into any, not mine, even any Java programming group, and you just try to ask for an help. And people, I have seen people like jumping into and helping out by dropping up the solution. This is not a fair practice. Always try to share up your code that okay, this is what I have made and I'm facing up some problem, or maybe I'm not understanding of the logic, but I tried, right? So your proof should be there that you have at least made some efforts. And then any good person who is aware of that solution can jump into and share up the solution, right? So don't just jump into and help everyone, because this you are not doing any good to him. You are instead making something a bad practice for him, right? And he will always follow it. Okay. So here I'll take a variable int num is equal to 10, right? I want to print this a message, value is positive, value is negative. Yes, Alok, I'll send the assignment, because for the first couple of sessions you won't find any assignments, right? It's just like understanding of Java installation and printing up some messages, right? And some theoretical concepts. Now today we have some understanding like if else thing, right? So today I'll be sharing up some assignments. So for this week, you will have a lot of programs to work upon. So with today's and tomorrow's class, after completing up today's and tomorrow class, 2 classes, you will have an assignment for whole of the week. Yes. So let's come back to the if demo. I take a variable over here, right? And I put some value. So my program wants, let's write up a use case. Print value is, I want to print value is godly, right? And or so if print value is godly if it is a positive value, right? If it is a positive value, I'll say value is godly, right? Now see this printing can be done very simple. I can go and simply print at this system dot out dot print line value is godly. That's fine. So if I run this code, if I go and compile this code, Java C if demo.java, Java if demo, and I get the output, right? And I look at my program and I say, oh, this is good, very good. But if you look at the program says if it is a positive. And now what if? I have seen people writing up the program by taking consideration of the true values. They never look towards the false side. Now, if I put it a false value, will it do any good? No. It is still value is godly, which is wrong. Value is not greater than 0. You are not making any conditions. You are just manually looking up the values, right? Yes. So here I'm going to put a condition that if parent round brackets over here, right? If you don't put round brackets, it is a syntax of Python. You're not doing Python, we'll do Java. So if this parenthesis, right? This is first condition. So inside this, you can add as many number of conditional statements you want. So here I'm going to write the first one, that is if num is greater than, if num is greater than 0. Okay, if num is greater than 0. So now this statement will run conditionally. It will not run 100%. This will be dependent. This is dependent on your num is greater than 0. Whether num is greater than 0 or not. So if num is greater than 0, it's going to print value is godly. Else it will print nothing. Right. So here we save our program, go back to the compiler and try to run this. Okay, I think yes. So you can use your arrow keys for getting the previous commands. That is what I'm using over here. So it doesn't gives me any output. Why? Because I have told that I want to print some output only if the num is greater than 0, right? Only if the num is greater than 0. Else, I'll put a else over here. So now you see a new thing come over here, else. Sometimes you go to a shop and you ask the shopkeeper, the grocery store manager, that I want a packet of, let's say, XYZ chips, right? Which I don't have. Just excuse me for a minute. There is some background noise. Right. So here we are going to get the else. Right. Now, what does the else mean over here? That I want to run. Sorry, we were having that example of grocery store exactly. So I go to the grocery store and I tell that I want a packet of XYZ chips, right? So he is not having that packet of chips, but he has a different brand. So there comes, if you have that particular brand A chips, give me a packet else. If you don't have that, give me the brand B, right? So if and else. So if something is not going to work according to your condition, what is the plan B, right? What can you do if it is not going to work? So that is displayed inside the else part. If this is not going to work, or this evaluates to false, in the simple term, if this evaluates to false, what are you going to do over here, right? So here I'm going to say if num is not greater than 0. So what is going to run in the else? If num is not greater than 0. So you print system dot out dot print line value is devil. Okay, so now just let's go and compile this. So there are nothing a value like devil, but yes, I'm just writing up a simple program. So value is devil, right? So any negative value will be considered as a devil, right? Now in this case, if num is greater than 0, now sometimes people make mistake, right? Where I'll talk about the logical errors. See, if you go and write it as num is less than 0, right? So operators are not negative and positive, right? Don't consider operators are negative and positive. So num is greater than 0. No operator is bigger than the another in the terms of understanding, right? Num is not num is less than 0. So here you have to ensure that you write up your value is devil in the true block, right? So now if it is true, if num is less than 0 means it is negative. I have to print value is devil, right? So don't just think in this way, because I have to write something godly, so it should be true. I'll put it in the true block only. It is fine. You can write up your conditions either ways, right? So if it is negative, so write it in the true block, but your conditions should map negative, right? If you are writing it in the positive side, then your positive statements should come in the true block, right? So out of these two blocks runs if condition evaluates to true, right? Your first block is going to run where a condition evaluates to true, and second block will else block will run only when your condition evaluates to false, right? So we have if else, if I can put a condition num is less than 10, I can put ampersand ampersand. So num mod 2 is equal to 0, right? So this way two conditions would be evaluated. If both are equal to true, if less than 0 and divisible by this, then value is devil, right? But if it is a if either of these conditions are going to false, value is godly. If it is a positive number or it is a negative positive, right? Sorry, negative odd, then it will calculate over here. Fine. Any doubts? So this way you can just manage up your condition to write up a better statement. So I say if my number is positive, right? If my number is positive and even, then I'll put it as value is godly. If it is either of these conditions are going to fail. Suppose if it is positive, right? Suppose if it is positive, but it is not even, then also it will say value is devil. So what are the chances for devil value? Negative and odd numbers. Negative, positive and odd numbers, right? Okay. Now we also have now if else. Okay, about the remainder. Is there a difference if you write num is less than 0 and num is less than 0? No, there are no difference. We'll go one by one. For John, your question is there a difference you write num is less than 0 and num with space, right? So you mean with space? So answer is no. There are no difference in this, right? It's just for a readability. If you have like a simple, sometimes you write it like this, so not an issue. Okay, but here, tell me something about the remainder which you used in the condition. Yes, I'll tell you about this. See, arithmetic operators, we saw like 5 operators, right? Plus, minus, multiplication, plus, minus, multiplication, division, and mod. So when I'm going to divide 10, divide by 2. So the answer here would be 5, right? So it's calculating how many times 2 is equal to 10, right? But if I say 10 mod 2, so it's checking how many times you divide like 10. It's not going to give you that value how many times. It's saying what is the remainder when 10 is divided by 2, right? So it is the value is 0, right? Suppose if I say 10 divided by 3, so the remain, sorry, mod 3, so the answer is 1. Okay, so this mod symbol returns you the remainder. Okay, Hussein, is it good? Right, great. It's good that you guys are asking question. It's really good. At least I can understand now you are getting the understanding from this program. Okay, fine. Let's quickly have a understanding of nested if, right? Nested if. Now, what is nested if? Nested if means if writing up a if block, and inside that I can further write a if block, right? So I'm going to check condition only if previous condition is true or false, right? True or false. So check condition only if previous condition is true or false. So here I have if, right? Let's take a value first of all. Int x is equal to 13. Okay. So the previous program that we wrote, we can write it in the form of nested if also. So I'll say if x is greater than 0, right? If x is greater than 0. So I want to print something, system dot out dot print line positive, right? Now after printing positive, I want to check whether it is even or odd. Okay, after printing positive, I want to check whether it is even or odd. So you have to print the number as positive, even, or odd, or only negative, right? Or only negative. So see the situation that I have to print, take a number. Let's suppose we take a number over here and I have to print either positive, even or odd, or negative, right? Positive, even, odd, or negative. So now if I look at this output, the first step is done. If x is greater than 0, positive. If x is greater than 0, positive, right? After that, here I write else negative. So with if else, I can understand that if my value is greater than system.out.print, I write it as negative. Okay, so I write it as negative. So system.out.print line positive, system.out.print line negative. Now inside this, I want to check whether my value is even or odd, right? My value is even or odd. So I can write it if x mod 2 equals to 0, right? So now this if is again further going to have a else block. So here you can write system.out.print line even, okay? And inside the else, you can write system.out.println odd. Now this is going to give you more customization, more control, because you want to print positive or negative and even odd. Okay. So if I was going to compare it with my previous program, there it is only going to print if it is a negative, or it is going to be positive and even number, right? So this way, if you want more control, you can use a nested if. Let's write up the program practically. Nested if demo.java. Let's correct this case. So class nested. I don't think so we would be able to do our switch case today. We'll move it to tomorrow. Class nested if else. And for today, we'll complete up our if else things. Public static void main string arguments. Okay. So class nested if else public static void main string arguments. Now, as I said, I want to calculate a value whether it is negative, positive, or even odd, right? So I'll take a variable num is equal to 10. You may be thinking why I'm always taking up 10. Let's take up some larger value like 434. Okay, so if num is greater than 0, so I'm comparing whether num is greater than 0. So let's write system dot out dot println positive, right? If I only write this much program, that means it will only print positive. What happens if it is negative, right? What happens if it is less than 0? So we will write a else block for that. Else system.out.println, and I'll write a negative, right? So both side of the condition comes negative and positive. If it is true, right, it will print positive. If it is false, that means it is a negative number, it will print a negative, right? Now what if after printing positive, I want to evaluate for the if else? I want to print evaluate for the if I want to evaluate for the even and the odd numbers. So in that case, I'm going to first calculate its remainder. So you can take a variable rem. You can take any variable name, but it would be good if it is more meaningful. If looking at the variable, you can understand what is the value I'm going to save it in it. So int remainder is equal to num mod 2, right? To calculate your remainder, you have to use the mod operator num mod 2. And for calculating if it is even or odd, we have to divide it by 2 only, right? So if remainder is equal to 0. Now here very important point, don't write it single equals to. Single equals to never returns a true false value, right? This will be a big error, right? And if you are going for your certification, remember this kind of question comes in your certification exam also. In your Oracle certified Java programming exam, you have a question based on this equals to operator. So where they write up a big program, and inside that, like very secretly, they write up a single equals to. So there the program won't compile it, give you an error, right? And they will give you like 6 outputs, and you will think of, okay, there will be some output, and you write up some output, right? So this won't be very much visible, because there would be a lot of like opening and closing braces, and you get a lot of confused. As I said earlier also, everyone practice this kind of coding, which is wrong approach, right? It gives you a very clear picture, and when you go for your exams, you get a very like complex structure of the program to be displayed, right? So far better if you just practice it up writing the program in this order. Okay, let's come back to our point. That is remainder is equal to 0. You should not write equals to, it should be equal to 0. Very important point, right? And now if remainder equals to 0, I'm going to say system dot out dot print line double quotes here. So if it is equal to 0, that means it is a even number, and else, so here I can put a else pause negative odd. I'm getting confused over here. Okay, even odd, right? So either I'll print the number as positive, even or odd, or simply negative. For negative, I don't want to calculate even and odd, right? So let's save this, go and compile our program. It should compile unless I mess up some semicolons, etc. So nested if, right? In a live class, you'll always see the errors, right? Which is a very good practice. You get to know like where you can get an error in the real life. Fine. Compiled successfully, Java nested if else. So you can see it's a output positive even. Now, if you are thinking that always we are writing up the values by ourselves, yes, exactly, it is fine, not an issue. We will also see how the user is going to give the input, right? But for that, we would be using up some inbuilt packages and the classes. We will learn that also. So you don't have to worry. We'll learn everything in the core Java. And if like I get good response from the students, we will also add advanced Java like JSP, servlets, right? Hibernate, Spring Framework, Spring MVC, Spring Boot. So I am planning up to continue this batch. If students are good, if you guys are sharing up the things with your friends, right? And trying to invite them for the live class. So we would be definitely going for a complete Java course, which will make you like a complete trained guy for your interviews also, right? So, and that's all for free. So because I have other batches, paid batches, so this is something experiment I'm doing, and trying to share up the knowledge with you guys, right? A give back in such a situation like nowadays. Okay, so here nested if else is good. So we have completed up if else, nested if else. There is one point else if ladder. We'll see it in the next class tomorrow. And tomorrow also we'll see for the loops and the switch case, right? So now what about assignment? Okay, how you are going to do the assignment for today, because it is only one day before your next class. So I want you to practice up today's program, watch the recording. I'll shortly upload it into the YouTube, our page, right? And then share the link in our Telegram channel, and practice up the same programs that we have done inside the class today. Okay, for till tomorrow, and tomorrow attend up your loops as well as the switch case. And then I'll be sharing up a complete document for with the assignments, for the assignments. And then I want you to write up all those programs for this whole week, right? And then we'll meet in the next week with our next topics. But yes, before that we have a session tomorrow, and tomorrow's session is a little delayed. I have posted the timing in our Telegram channel. I'll mention it up again once again, right? It's a 1 hour late than that Saturday's time, so that will be the Sunday timing, right? Okay, thanks everyone. And also I would like you to share up the recordings with your friends or on your social channel, right? So others can be benefited also. And second thing, invite your friends for this batch. This is entirely free. I'm not going to ask you any money anytime, right? So this is just to share up the knowledge. So that's all for today's class. And please share your feedback in the Telegram channel. That will definitely help others to come and join this batch. Again, the whole motive is that if I'm spending up time, more and more people should take the benefit from here, right? So please share your feedback in the Telegram channel, right? Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.